Rev up your engines!
Adrian Ostegard says, Scotty, what do you think about Lexus IS 200 to 300 service costs, motor, transmission, and so on? Well-made vehicles, the problem is they cost too much when they're new. That's just the way that it goes. My wife's presently driving a 2002 that I bought for $4,000 used from a customer of mine when his father died and had a heart attack and he didn't want it. Now, it was an old car, 12 years old when I bought it. But it's been the best car I ever had. It's fantastic. But on the other hand, I wouldn't have paid $37,000 for a new one, which is what his father paid for it. So, you know, but if you can get a used one at a good price, they're great cars. Their maintenance isn't all that high. And there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. Change your own oil filters and stuff. Don't trust people. There's a lot of crooks out there. Learn how to change your own oil and stuff. Or if there's an oil change place near you, get a relationship with them where they let you watch where they change it so you know they're actually doing the work they say they do. So, you know, they aren't that expensive to maintain if you get one that's got at least less than a couple 100,000 miles on it. Z-Ton says, will the 1998 Jaguar XKR go up or down in value? Okay, well, you know, it's 20 years old, and you can probably get one pretty cheap. You never know. If it's in really good shape and you buy it cheap, yeah, it might go up in value. Who knows? Don't drive it, buy it an everyday driver, buy it as a toy. And if it's in decent shape, I've had some customers that would do that. And especially if it's a convertible. Convertibles are always worth money, and you never know. It's never going to be worth a ton of money, but if you can get one cheap enough and use it as a toy, yeah, I've had customers do that. But I've also had customers who are dumb and they pay too much money for them, and then 5-6 years later they sell them and they lose 90% of what they paid for the thing. Just realize that. You can buy them cheap enough and you want a toy, especially if it's a convertible, why not? But just don't think it's going to be an everyday driver. Things like that just don't happen. Ash and X says, what do you think of a 2007 Honda Civic with 83,000 miles and an automatic transmission? They can be great cars. Yes, Honda makes weak automatic transmissions, but that's a little bitty Civic. And if the previous owner wasn't an 18-year-old kid who did burnouts and stuff all the time, they can still last a long time. I got customers with Honda Civics that have 240,000 miles with an automatic transmission. The one I'm talking about is this woman who's a school teacher, and she drives conservatively, and it still works perfectly fine. So there's nothing wrong with buying a car like that. But realize it's a 12-year-old car, so its value is not all that high. Just don't pay too much for it if you're buying a used one. And of course, have a guy like me check it out before you buy. We've got these high-level scan tools. We plug them in, and we can tell you just about everything you needs to be known about that vehicle in 20-30 minutes of checking it out. Adam Bomb, Scotty, what's the story about the downfall of the American Motor Company, AMC? Well, you know, they didn't exist for all that long. They were a combination of, I believe, Nash, Rambler, and Jeep. They were all combined, and it was a small company, and so they didn't make that many cars. Then when they started to ramp it up, you know, their big ramp-up car was that crazy AMC with the big windows on it that's really weird looking, and for a while it was popular. They sold a few 100,000 because it was kind of a unique looking car with the big windows going all the way around. But they found out after the first 2 years, everybody in the United States that wanted to buy something that looked weird like that bought it. Then they couldn't give the things away. Then they shoehorned a V8 engine in them that was hard to work on, that was all jammed in, and then the EPA came along and said, we're going to make pollution control, and it lost the horsepower that they had. And then, you know, they kind of merged with Renault, the French company, and they made that Renault Alliance, which was one of the biggest pieces of crap that was ever made. Chrysler bought them away from Renault for peanut money just because they wanted the Jeep version, and they shut down AMC entirely and just sold Jeeps. And that's the basic, in a nutshell, what happened to AMC. Scarface says, Scotty, I got a 2013 Toyota Corolla with 155,000 miles. When I brake on a highway, the steering shakes. Do I need to replace the brakes? Yes, you need to replace the front brakes and the front rotors. Don't turn the rotors. They're not that well made. Once they're warped, they're warped. You buy new ones. But that said, you go to a place like AutoZone, you can get brand new rotors for like 30 bucks a piece for those things. They aren't that expensive. And put new pads. What happens is, when you brake at higher speeds, the rotors are warped. Now, they're supposed to be flat, so when they brake, they stop, squeeze them, and they stop. But when they're warped, and it's only a few thousandths of an inch, then the brake pads go in and out. Now, they only go in and out a few thousandths of an inch, but the wheels are spinning pretty fast at 60 miles an hour. When you do hit that pulsing makes the steering wheel shake. So change the rotors and the pads. Use new ones. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos,
Remember to ring that bell.